comfortably indulging and trying to get to know me. I'm just an outline of what I used to be, constantly evolving.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome to Your Power, Your Purpose. My name is Sinamile, Sina for short, and I'm with
Nosy Pomklanga.
Yes.
Nosy for short.
And this is another wonderful episode where we will be diving into life and God's Word. And today's topic is brought to you by Nosy.
I don't even remember when I brought up this topic, but is God really enough?
Yeah.
Is he? Is he? I think the automatic answer is like yes, especially if you grew up in the church. But is he really in your real life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he really play a role in your life? And I think that can be quite difficult. There's like, it's one thing to say something, but it's another way to actually live in your belief in that thing. So, girl.
Is he? I don't know. I think it's a tough question to answer. Because when you're going through things, right, tough times, you don't really know if God is enough. Like you want him to provide a lot more. You want him to be more present. And you realize maybe you feel like he's not. I think it's a tough question to answer.
It is.
You know the answer, but you don't always feel the answer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. And I think sometimes, like in our single phase, let's talk about our single phase, especially as women, there's so much pressure to like get married, find a man. I mean, we're basically trained at a young age to know how to treat a husband one day. You're basically trained to clean the house all the time, cook. I got taught how to wash my own socks when I was 8, even my own underwear at 8. And I see no offense, my brother, like, he hardly washes his underwear. He just puts it in the washing. And I'm like, Mara, why is he not getting taught the same way I'm getting taught? Yeah. But at that moment, I'll think, okay, like, bro, why is it that way? Why did God allow certain things to happen that way? Why is there a different treatment for men and women, especially growing up in an African household? And I'm going a bit sideways with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But
we can talk about it.
We can talk about it. But I think that's where the pressure comes in when it comes to us being single, because we've been trained to not think we're going to be single. To always provide for the family, to always look after the family, and all of those things. What was your thought when you wrote singleness in our script? Sorry.
I was thinking more in the sense of like relationships. So, how we always think that somebody else will complete you. Like, oh, my other half, like you're incomplete without that other person. But you're complete in Christ, right? You're an individual, you're single, but he completes you type of thing. So he is enough. Like we often want more romantic relationships. Like being single is seen as, what's wrong with you? You're 25 and unmarried and whatever. Like, what's wrong with you? But finding that, you know what? I'm in my season of singleness and God is more than enough.
But what brought you to say what's wrong with me?
I never have that feeling.
Really?
No.
Okay, because that's the angle I'm coming with. Like, what even brought me to be there at that point, and then feel like I'm not enough.
I know people like you and other people have had that feeling. I've never felt like I'm not enough. I like when I'm single, I feel like it's wonderful, and I feel like I focus more on my purpose, and I have a lot more structure in my life. I feel like it revolves less around when I'm in a relationship, I think my life revolves a lot around us as a partnership and the other person sometimes. Like I will disregard my needs to try and help the other person. But when I'm single, it's like, it's about me and how I can better myself and do better. And I'm more introspective, but it's easier when you're in a relationship. It's easy to look at other people.
I get what you mean. I think you like, that's really good to have that perspective as a single person as well. And I think in the phase that you're in right now, you're realizing that God is enough for you because you even had the guts to even break off a relationship, a long-term relationship. And that is more of you kind of acting out in that whole thing of, yes, God is enough for me.
Yeah.
It's just really good.
Yeah, because like in the other episode, which is gonna come out probably after this, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I brought up how I was like really dependent on him, kind of like idolized the relationship. So in order to really get back to where I was with God and having him speak to me directly or give me revelations directly, I needed to cut off that dependency on the other person and realize that God is enough. Like, you know, like he is. When I need somebody to vent to, oh my gosh, I'll park the car at work and I'm like, can you believe that woman, God? Can you believe it? Okay, God, yes. But like, can you believe it? I mean, I know your word says we must, but come on, you know?
Yeah.
And I just like vent to him whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed by something, go to the word or listen to worship music. I think even at work, always have an earphone on the side. There's so much drama at work at the moment. Have an earphone here. It's not loud. Sorry. Okay, don't fire me, HR. But I have like a little earphone here and have the other ear open and I'll have like worship music playing or like the audio version of the Bible, like Psalms or something. Just there.
speaking.
When things are tough and like, you know, it's busy and people are like stressing you out. It's like,
It is quite tough to actually think of God being enough for you while you're going through those challenges, especially career challenges. You know, there's a high unemployment rate in South Africa. And in those moments, you also tend to think, where is God? And I think sometimes even people who don't necessarily like go to church all the time and necessarily like really deepen like their whole relationship with God and stuff, sometimes they do point out to God in the tough times. They'll be like, okay, where is God? And for those people, I'm kind of just like, even me, I'm kind of just like, obviously there's a certain standard you have for God for you to even say or ask yourself, where is God? And it kind of directly correlates with this topic of like, is really God enough for you? Like, what if he just wants you to be unemployed for a moment to get to know him? Is that enough for you?
yeah. I think we actually spoke about, that's how it came up. We're talking about this thing.
It spoke. Yeah. That's how
like,
it came up.
There are certain situations that you go through in your life. It's like, what if your purpose was just to do this one thing? Remember, would you be satisfied? Like maybe you want to be, I don't know, a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But God was like, you know what? Your sponsor shop that feeds the children in this community is what the purpose is. Because look at how the children are dying because of all the.
Can you take that word in?
Yeah. Can you deal with that? Can you be content with that being your purpose? Not wanting to look beyond what God has put for you. I mean, God can do amazing things and do incredible things and work miracles through you. But sometimes your purpose is something as simple as maybe even just, I don't know, being a youth pastor. You know?
That is how this topic came up.
Yeah.
That's how it came up. Because
could you be content with that?
Would you be content just knowing God is with you in that specific season? Like, will you still be joyful? Will you still be kind to people, even if your dreams are delayed?
Yeah. Think about Job. Oh my gosh, imagine having all those things happen to you and then still being like, I'm not gonna forsake you. Yo, we at a drop of a hat, like we will just be like, oh God, why have you forsaken me? And he's just like, yeah, no, God, I'm never, I still praise you, I still love you. And we'll be like, something doesn't go away. We're like, oh, where's God?
Where's God? Where
family
is
members
God?
die because of like cancer or whatever. We're like, where's God? Where's God? But some people praise and worship him through
those
most
tough times.
Yeah.
I know there's a podcast I was listening to by Tim Ross, and he was like, you're not really walking with God until you actually get to that question where you actually ask yourself, where is God? Because Jesus himself, even at the cross, he had said, Lord, why have you forsaken me? That was the first time he actually kind of was like, hey, God, like, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is natural for us as human beings to kind of, when we are going through a tough time, to kind of be like, what is happening? I don't see God in this. Not realizing that when God even created the earth, there was disruption. There was chaos. Like, he was like, let there be light. Do you not think the darkness was like, what is going on?
Well, he also divided light and dark. So he kind of also created, well, the dark was there, but he also kind of created space for the dark.
For the dark.
Same way,
Yeah.
We're talking about how is God all good? Because there's good, he creates space for the bad. Hey!
Because there was a time I was super stuck on. So I was like, let me just read the Bible from Genesis again.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah. And when I tell you, my sister, I was stuck from Genesis 1, verse 1 to 3. Just meditating on just that alone. Because I was like, wait, when God says, let there be light, what light is he talking about? Because if you go to, I think, verse, one of the other verses, verse 14 till 19, he speaks about the sun and the moon.
There's light without the sun and the moon.
Period. That means there's day and night without the sun and the moon.
The sun and the moon he put those in place to help us differentiate time better. I also meditated on that. Oh my gosh, I'm still stuck in I'm still busy with Genesis as we speak, like everything, analyzing everything. Because I like to question and I analyze like crazy. But there's light and dark without the sun and the moon. He did that for us. So we can tell time, basically.
So where does the light come from?
Him. I guess he is the light, right?
He is the light, and he also calls us to be the light of the world too.
But this
it's something to really dive into. Like, I think we can spend days on just that. It's crazy.
The sun and the moons are just there for us, and it's also for us to tell the seasons. It's a tool for us because we need that. We don't understand the way that he works, so it's for us.
God loves us so much, and we keep on questioning where is God. Yet he's everywhere. When the sun rises, when the sun goes down, when the birds start to chirp, he created all of that. He created us. When we're breathing, he's the one who gives us breath of life.
And think about how you don't have to do anything in the garden. Like, we planted tomatoes like many years ago. They still grow now. We don't water that place. Like, I don't know when was the last time I actually went there and like toiled the soil or anything. It's made us basically like a weed. Sometimes it grows like crazy. But think about how things just grow out in the wild without us having to do anything. God designed it that way. He's just made things so easy for us. We question if he's
at his own timing. But for us, we can't even trust God, and we can't trust God's timing in our lives. But we can trust God in the timing of, like, for example, the tomatoes growing, all of that stuff. We're like, no, it will take time. It will grow at its own time. But we don't have that same mindset for our lives when it comes to God. And with relational pain, betrayal, broken friendships.
You can talk about that.
I've gone through some broken friendships, I would say. Quite a number of times. And it's when you meet someone every single day and you always make time for each other, and then all of a sudden that small fight that you never knew would ever happen breaks the whole friendship up over like a simple thing. There's a friend that I used to have from high school. We're very close. And then I called her, she was sleeping. And then, so she missed my call. I called her like twice. Then she calls me back and then she's like, hey, I received your call. And then I'm like, what did I say? She's like, hey, I received your call. And then I said, I don't know what I said, but I think I said something like, oh, no, you didn't, or something like that. And then she got upset over just what I said. And then I did end up apologizing, but she said a few painful words to me. And then I was like, hey, can I also get an apology? And she was like, no. Why do you want an apology? You're the one who hurt me. I'm not going to do that. And then, I said, duh, I called you. Didn't you see the missed call? And then she got upset by that line. And then I did apologize. And then she was like, then I was like, I think I deserve an apology too. And then she was like, I'm not going to give you an apology at all, even though I hurt you. And then I was like, okay, maybe there was something else that she was mad about with me, because it escalated a lot. Because I was like, are you having a bad day? Like, what's happening? Because why would you escalate the conversation so much? And it broke me a lot, because I was like, okay, God, like, why did you bring this person in my life in the first time? I could have avoided that pain and that brokenness, but you still let that happen. Like, why? And I think in that moment, I have a certain standard for God, that he would make sure that he brings people in my life that don't really hurt me, because he's a God of peace, love, kindness, patience, all of that stuff. So why would you bring that person in my life in the first place for me to experience pain?
Because you grow sometimes in pain. Some people are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So maybe they're there for a season, or for a reason to teach you something.
I get that. But at that moment, you would kind of feel like, is God... At that moment, I did go back to God, and he did heal me and all of that stuff. And it did make me think that, okay, God is enough. But every time, like now, you kind of live in the same area as this person. You're always walking past each other, and there's like subliminal statuses that your other friends will tell you and be like, she said this on a status, and it's about you guys and everything like that. And it's quite hard going through that type of season, especially when you know that you guys were super, super close. And it was just that fight that broke everything off. Till this day, I'm kind of like, why? But I'm like, I tried my best to rekindle everything. And if someone's not willing to just apologize for even just hurting me, because like, I'm the type of person, even if I don't realize I hurt you and you say, girl, you really hurt me, I'll be like, I'm sorry. Because I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want to inflict pain on you at all, because I care about you. So it was quite an interesting season for me when I think it was second year uni. Yeah, it was quite a very interesting season. And words were thrown. Yeah. Words were thrown.
Did you want to hang on to that friendship so much?
I did.
Yeah. Why?
Because we have so many special moments with each other. And like, we'd laugh, we'd cry, we'd dance. I mean, I had a YouTube video with her. Like, it was a lot. And unfortunately, it just broke off.
We're holding on to things that don't want to hold on to us. I mean, find solace in something else, like God, for example,
Like God, yeah, he'll never let you go.
or other friendships. Because sometimes we hold on to things that God knows are not enough for us. Maybe, I don't know who that friend is. I don't want to know. But maybe we hold on to friendships.
Yeah.
We hold on to a friendship and people who, in the long run, might do more harm than good, or hold you back, or maybe you don't need that stress of somebody who won't apologize to you because they'll make it feel like it's always your fault.
That's so true.
If somebody's not willing to take accountability for the role that they played in an argument, it talks a lot about their character and the type of person that they are.
And you don't know what they're talking about behind your back. Maybe it was supposed to just break off.
Yeah.
And at that time, yeah, I did get into my prayer closet, and it is quite interesting to see that God can heal you even though you don't feel healed by that person, that person did nothing to help in that process, but God helped you in that process. He's always there. He's loving. He saw when it happened. He was there in everything.
He is enough.
He is enough. He is enough. Like he will, like he's just, yeah, he's enough.
Yeah. Sometimes you won't receive forgiveness from other people or an apology for somebody else, but you just have to forgive them and just move on. Because when you hold on to that resentment, it affects you. It manifests in you and your heart.
That's true.
Not them. They can go on their lives and live a happy, dappy life, and you're stuck there resenting somebody for something they'll never apologize for. They don't see the pain that they caused.
Speaking words.
That's something I had to really work through.
Have you had a broken friendship that you'd like to share?
I think I'm very bad at maintaining relationships. So I think onus comes on me, really. I think friendships and relationships are a lot of effort. I think that's maybe why it's easier for me to just lean on God, because leaning on other people has never really yielded the best results.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to think that way. Yeah, I have a friend from primary school. We used to be really close. And then when she went to high school, there was a year where she stopped talking to everybody from primary school, and then came back like everything was fine. And we started hanging out again, but wouldn't see each other as often. And then I think we haven't seen each other in years at this point. But it was just hard to maintain the relationship. I think when somebody wants a friendship that is texting every day or every week, it sounds like nothing. They're asking for nothing. But for me, I don't know why. It's just so hard for me to do that sometimes.
Every single day.
Every single day. But maybe once a month or every couple of weeks, I'll be like, hey, how are you? Let's catch up or whatever. But sometimes it's not enough for certain people.
Yeah.
And I can't give you that. And yeah, you expect more from me than I'm able to give. But I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I spent a lot of time in my youth being around a lot of people, having lots of friendships, going out all the time. I'm just learning more to be at peace with myself.
Yeah.
And be in peace with the presence that actually fulfills me and grows me.
Yeah. Because people will disappoint you, and you will also disappoint people yourself. You're not enough.
We're never enough.
We're never, yeah. I don't think with sin, we'll never be as enough as God is.
People talk about perfection, wanting to be the only person was Jesus, wanting to be more Christ-like and achieving that perfection. But so long as we're on this earth, I doubt that is even possible.
That's so true. That's so true. This conversation kind of reminds me of the scripture, Matthew 16, verse 5 to 12. And basically it says, okay, cool. It says, when the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. Jesus said to them, "Watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees." And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, "We brought no bread." But Jesus, aware of this, said, "Oh, you of little faith, why are you discussing among yourselves the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000 and how many baskets you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000 and how many baskets you gathered? How is it that you fail to understand that I did not speak about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees." Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Okay, what I got from the scripture is that they didn't know that Jesus is the bread of life. Like, he is enough. Why are you so focused of not having or lacking something when you already have God who does not lack anything? Do you not see that, for example, if you're worrying about something, if you're stressed about something and you have God, there's nothing to be stressed about. There's nothing to worry about because God is enough. So that's something that was on my heart this week about this topic as well when I looked at those verses.
I think, oh geez, let me find my verse, okay? It's a very simple one. I think we often meditate on this word. It's 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9-2. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Right? Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That's why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I'm weak, then I am strong. And that speaks into God being enough, because when we reach our limits, when we are not enough, he fills that. He goes the extra mile. He is enough. He's more than enough, actually. So much so that he can pour into us.
I'm not gonna lie, 2024, I really reached to the end of myself. Like, when I was explaining how I was trying to strategize my life and plan and everything like that to make sure that everything would be great after the contract ends and stuff like that, I had realized, I had a moment with God where I was like, I have totally reached the end of myself. Like, I can't plan anymore. I can't strategize anymore because I've realized my life is not in my hands.
Yeah.
At all. And I just wanted to ask, what God is enough? What does it mean to you when we say God is enough?
I can start with what it means for God not to be enough.
Okay.
Like what it means, what does it mean for God to be enough?
To not be enough.
Yeah, what God is enough doesn't mean to me.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, because I have this thing, where I see that people, especially Christians, sometimes we tend to be very optimistic, which is a wonderful trait to have. I don't personally have that trait. I'm not the most optimistic, happy-go-lucky, life's great all the time type person.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I find that when I was going through depression, they'd be like, "Oh, just pray about it. Oh, just worship and praise." And it's like, no, but like, it's depression. It is based on
It is what
trauma. It is real pain. And I feel like sometimes Christians tend to trivialize pain. They tend to look at tend to look at just purely the positive and neglect the pain, the bad. And pain is valid, right? Emotions are not a sign of weak faith. Sometimes when people are going through depression and tough times and things are hard and they're feeling these things, you don't have enough faith that God will pull you through this. But no, I'm valid to feel these things, God feels our anger. He knows our pain, The Bible even tells us about moments where God felt anger, where God felt jealousy. He feels our emotions. He knows what it's like. So for us to be like, oh, ignore that pain, ignore the depression, and just be happy and have faith and everything will work out. I think it's kind of unrealistic. So there's that. And because of that toxic positivity that people have sometimes towards God being enough and all you need is God, people go and do not get the help that they need. Sometimes your depression isn't caused by trauma. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain and you need medication to help with that. Sometimes it's trauma that's hurting you. It's causing what? Thorns and tears, preaching. It's causing something in your heart, like thorns are building up in your heart, like resentment. If you don't work through it, you can't bear any good fruit. So people need to go and seek help. And because sometimes people can be overly positive, like toxically positive, people don't seek help. People don't talk about their emotions because they feel like they just have to be happy. I'm a perfect Christian. I can't feel depressed. I can't feel this and that. And I'm just going to, be happy, go lucky and all that. And they never work through any issues. And that's not what God being enough is. God understands your pain. He knows that. And he finds you there. So that's not what it is. I feel like it's important to touch on what it's not because that part really irks me sometimes.
Because sometimes you do meet certain Christians. Well, like I grew up in a church, so exposure was definitely there. So sometimes you meet certain Christians that will pray in tongues and they preach very well. All of that stuff, they're very like in their word, you know what I mean? But outside of the church building, they're rude to people. They don't know how to be kind to people. They gossip a lot. They don't show the Christian values outside of the church itself. But they're so good at praying in tongues and all of those things. They're so spiritual and whatever. And I feel like for some people, they think that, okay, that is enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, this is what it is. And that's just who I am. But they're faking it in real life. They're faking their they're faking the fact that they have all of these values outside of the church. They don't realize that when we think about God, because when I thought about this topic, I was like, okay, is God enough? You obviously have a standard for God in the first place to even ask yourself, is God enough? And some people have certain standards of God in terms of like, oh, I just need to go to church and pray in tongues and all of that stuff. But they don't show kindness in the workplace, meaning that their standard of God is kind of different to another person sometimes, or they may have a different view of God himself to be like, okay, yeah, I've done enough for this week for me to say, yeah, God is enough, or God is in my life, or I am God. I am a child of God, not realizing that when you're going to the office, when you're going to the shops, even when you're greeting a stranger or anything like that, they don't show the values that a Christian kind of should have, or a Christian or what the Bible preaches about to other people. I think I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but it's just the thought that I have with this whole, is God enough? Because before we even came up with this whole topic, I was like, yeah, but I feel something so different in terms of what the revelation you have over this topic. For me, it was just more standing on, okay, like, what standard do people have of God in the first place for them to even say, God is not enough here in my life? But yeah, it's just really a thought in my brain, guys. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but like, yeah, it is difficult to, when you're going through tough times and when things are just not going your way, to say that God is enough. There's a certain standard that you have of God. And I'm just pressing on the fact that you actually need to look at what standard do you have with God? And is that in alignment with what is said in the Bible about God?
Do we have to set standards for God?
I don't know.
Like, do we have to set standards? Like,
I don't know.
because like we said, he's more than enough. So how can you set a standard on infinity?
How can you? So is that question even valid?
It's more of a thing of what standards do we have for ourselves in relation to God?
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, I think we set a standard for ourselves in relation to God. So I've gone to church on Sunday. I went to my cell group. I worshiped and prayed this much. Yeah, I'm a Christian, you know? And because I'm doing more than so-and-so did, I expect him to show up more in my life. You know? I think...
And then you ask yourself that question. Well, if you go through tough times and you feel like that standard of living is not being manifested in your real life, you're like, is God really here? Is God here? You start to doubt God.
I think that's more of a thing of like doubting God's presence or his existence in your life or his hand in your life more than is God enough. I think those are two different things.
Okay.
You can I think you can sometimes understand that God is enough, like, you know, is enough, but you might not feel that enough in your life because you don't feel his hand there. I think God being enough is like a truth. We can all say, yes, he's enough. We know it, it's in the Bible, it's there. But us feeling it and us seeing it work in our lives is a different thing than, you know, I think it's a different conversation.
It's a different conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does God being enough actually mean to you then?
I think, okay, so I wrote this down. Deep trust beyond circumstances. So basically, finding validation from him and worth from him, rather than from other people, I think. And for me, like I said, I went through a journey in 2024 of surrendering control to God, letting him do what he wants to do in my life. You know, him providing what needs to be provided, him giving me direction in things that he needs to give me direction in. I think that's what it means when he's enough, because he sees me at my limits and he fills in the rest. He sees me at my limit and he goes beyond. He's pushing me to beyond what I thought I could. And that's proof of God being enough. Letting go of your own solutions, I think also. Because our minds are limited. We can only think to a certain extent, and God sees beyond that.
That's true.
My life motto is kind of like, do your best and God will do the rest.
Yeah.
So you give your 100%, and your 100% maybe 40% of what you need to get to the point where he wants you, and he fills in the rest because he's enough.
He's enough.
He is enough. He completes you. Yeah. So the only way you can be good enough is because he is enough and he pours into you and he meets you at your weakness.
Yeah. My weakness is my strength. I think that's worse. Yeah.
My weakness. Yeah.
In my weakness, I find strength.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. For me, I think it's being comfortable with the mysteries of God. Because like what you were saying, like when you're doing something, he can do beyond that.
Yeah.
And he fills up the rest. And knowing that he is enough and more than enough is understanding that you just need to be very comfortable with the mysteries of God himself. Because we're very logical beings. We'll be like, okay, if I open this tap, water will come out.
Yeah.
Right? But then what if frogs come out? And that's just God's miracle. And you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. How can God, like, logically, if I open this tap, water needs to come out, then God allows the frog to come out.
Well, I mean, logically, frogs can get into your pipe.
Okay. Let me make another example. Okay, so let's say you're looking for a job and you say, okay, I'm posting a lot. I'm going to these job posts. I'm going on LinkedIn. I'm on Postnet. I'm on Indeed. Like, you are throwing your CV everywhere. You are even doing it the traditional way by going to offices. No job at all. And then God says, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've reached the end of myself. I'm just going to go into my prayer closet. And God's like, I just want you to go give that person 10 rand at the streets. Like, as you as you drive out of your house, there's going to be a homeless person, give them 10 rand or 50 rand. Then the next thing happens, you receive a call after 24 hours. Receive a call of someone saying, hey, so a friend of yours was just discussing, so I don't know if you know this person. So they said that you have experience in XYZ. We're wondering if you can come for the job interview. And you end up being the only person that they interview.
Yeah.
God can work in that mystery, like in that way.
Yeah.
It could be mysterious.
I have like a testimony. Like, that's kind of how I got my job.
Really?
Yeah. I was volunteering at the World Maritime Summit. I had my internship had just ended that month before, and they were hosting the Maritime Summit for the first time. And I decided to stay in Durban for an extra month because I volunteered. You know, doing protocol classes. I'm a protocol officer.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And then the MD of the company at the gala dinner, at the last function, came. I was sitting at the table next to him with a whole bunch of other old people. We were just talking, having fun, you know, just chatting.
Yeah.
And she called me over. She's like, hey, we've got like industry people here at this table. So just come and say hi and whatever. So I went and said hi and spoke to some people, and they were asking me, oh, so what do you do right now? I'm like, oh, I'm actually I was interning for a law firm at first, and then I interned at this warehouse or whatever. But I really want to go into shipping and this. And I spoke about how shipping industry is the most sustainable way of like transporting goods. And I do inter-African trade and talking. And then I got up and left. And I was like, okay. So then they called me and they're like, okay, send your CV, because 2 people asked for your CV. Cool. Went, sent my CV, got a call, went to go interviewed with 3 people or 4 people from the company. I met like the GM, a whole bunch of other people. Didn't get the job. They didn't even tell me that I didn't get the job. They're just like, oh, okay. And then they called me later and they're like, okay, there is an option for documentation, but I don't think you're suited to that, but it's available if you want it. And I was like, please, I'll take anything. I interviewed with the MD of the company and he was like, yeah, it's not for you, but we'll see if there's anything available, you know, maybe more on the sales side. I was like, all right, whatever, man. Chill. Okay, cool. I thought nothing because it took months. And then I get a call like later on that afternoon. I'm on holiday, by the way. I do my interview and I'm sitting in like a resort, just chilling there. And then I get a call later on in the afternoon, and it's my current boss. He's like, oh, I just got your CV. I've looked through it. When you're available for interview, can you come in tomorrow? And I was like, no, I'm actually on holiday, but I can come back on this day. And I went, and I got my interview, and I got the job.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, like, he said, I got your CV. We're not even looking for like a salesperson at the moment, but I see what they see in you. So go ahead, like, we'll put you in the trainee position. Was in the trainee position for 7 months.
Hey.
Somebody resigned because I got a better job, and I was made permanent within 7 months.
Wow.
That is God. That is God.
That is saying God is enough.
So that you know, and I wanted a job. I was earning 4.5, man. That's like barely enough to live, and I'm earning a little bit better now.
Yeah.
And I'm able to help out at home because of all the issues that are going on with my mom's work and things like that. I'm able to help out, like do groceries and ease her burden, pay my own health insurance and things like that. So it helps. But that's God being enough. Because me getting a permanent job just before these issues started for my mom,
sure,
it helps, you know, lessen the burden for her and for the whole family, really.
That's like God being even more than enough.
More than enough. And his timing.
Because I think you know, when you ask, is God really there for you? You don't have the full story. You're just seeing why you sing. And that's why Paul says, take great joy in trials and tribulations. There's something happening in the background that you just don't see.
Yeah.
But God sees it and God's working on it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm in a season where I'm like, faith.
Faith.
Yay.
Like, faith in what's not seen.
Hey.
What is to come.
What is to come? Like, I'm like, nah, God, like, I'm in that season where it's like, all I have is God.
Yeah.
Like, none of the things that are going to happen in my life is me. Not that any of the stuff that have happened in my life is because of me in the first place.
Yeah.
Everything has been a gift, but I, in my pride and ego, thought it was because of myself. And, I have an education, I have a degree, and blah, blah, blah. Nope. It's God. And that's what I learned as well in 2024 in our previous episode that we had. One of our episodes that we were talking about that. But yeah. Okay, my closing statement is that God is really more than enough. It's really hard to actually implement that in our lives. But if we, I think it takes us humbling ourselves a lot and reminding ourselves that God is really in control. And that our emotions, yes, they are raw. Yes, it's real. Go to God, pour out all of those things and let him fill you up with joy and peace and things that you even would look back and say, whoa, I didn't think I could react that way. I didn't think that I could have that much peace inside of me in the situation. You know, I didn't think that this could even happen to me. Or why is this even happening to me? But in a good way. Like, your character changes when you spend more time with God, and you'll realize that God is really more than enough. He really will stand for you. He will really fight for you. He will really do things that is beyond you, and you will actually feel more like a child of God.
Like that. I think there's a saying that says you can't encounter God and stay the same. Is God really enough? It's a tough question.
It is.
But I think it's not just a question you ask yourself once. It's something that you ask yourself probably daily, weekly, and making a decision to decide and be sure and understand that God really, truly is enough is a decision we have to make every single day. I think we can easily fall into the trap of thinking he's not enough when we lose focus. We should always stand firm on that fact that God is enough, and he is the same God he was yesterday, today, and forevermore. And understanding his character, understanding his principles, and understanding who God is allows us to truly know and find truth and solace in that he is more than enough. He's not just enough. He's abundantly more than what we could ever imagine. And just choosing to make that decision of making it a fact that God is more than enough. I think that's the main point. Whether you see it in your life or you see it in others, it is a fact, and the facts are the facts of the matter. Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, yo, like this this topic is heavy. I think it's because it's also ministering in our lives in real time. Yeah. But guys, please comment down below and tell us. I think a lot of us are experiencing this. I don't think this is just a topic where we just like, honestly, we felt it heavy this week.
Yeah.
Like it was heavy in our hearts. Like we were even like, what do you mean when you say that? What do you mean when you say that? And that's when I think that's when we both knew that, okay, we need to really talk about this maybe. Like,
yeah. And also the topic of is God all good? I think that would be a great topic. Because that was the that was the point of our little spat. Like, yeah. But it forced me to like really think about it and how to put it in a way that is more palatable than saying, I don't think God is all good. I think anytime you say that to like a Christian, they'd be like, God is all good.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? So yeah, that would be a nice thing to talk.
Yeah, it would be.
And if you have any questions you want us to like discuss in front of you, because we don't have all the answers, just put them in the comment section below and we'll do our best.
And any topics.
Yeah, and any topics about anything really. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let us be your big sisters.
And if you're older than us, sisters.
Yeah.
But yeah, bye guys.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Revolving.